The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
C.D. Lamb, touchdown.
Parsons has sacked it. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Patrik Walker, Josh Rodriguez, and Kyle Youmans.
It's a wonderful Wednesday edition of Talkin Cowboys presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, in the SWBC studios. Welcome in, everybody. We've got Patrik Walker, Josh Rodriguez, Tommy Yarrish, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Youmans. Glad you were with us. And, of course, today being a Wednesday, which means the Cowboys defense versus the Houston Texans offense preview is upon us. We're going to break it down for you. CJ Stroud and company still playing really high-quality football in the month of November.
No doubt.
Cowboys defense trying to build off of a couple of things that they've done well over the last couple of weeks. But glad to have Tommy back in the building. 3 straight days.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
You've already beaten Isaiah's record in that chair.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like I told you guys before, if I do half as good of a job as Isaiah does, I'll be happy. So
I'm sure you'll do at least 55%.
I'll take it. Yes, I'll take it.
Why not
You got
56? You're such a hater.
I am a hater, dude. Such a hater.
Oh my
I do like your
God.
shirt, though. Little
Thank you.
Stranger
Yeah,
Things.
that's nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Eddie forever. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stranger Things.
Absolutely.
I like it.
That's
And-
supposed to come back
coming
like
soon,
next
right?
year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The
Yeah,
final
they're all
season.
30 years old, still in elementary school.
Don't do
Still in
that.
high school.
Let them be great.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Because the most recent season,
The show has not worn out its welcome at all.
Better and better.
See, but
and
that
then,
was-
of course, you know who has his hand in that mix, right? It was Mr. Kruger himself.
Vecna?
Yeah.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's
Robert
just
England.
Robert England has his hand in helping orchestrate that storyline.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Did you watch the most recent season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm all caught up.
You know he's the one that's in that dark jail cell. You could kind of halfway see his face, halfway not, and he's tapping his hand like this, which is a reference to Freddy's claw. And you.
I did
It
not know
gives.
this.
There's a reason it gives Nightmare on Elm Street vibes. It's because Freddy Krueger is involved, the GOAT. So
Love
yeah.
that. That's
but
kinda cool.
I wore this today because, I mean, we're talking about the Cowboys, obviously, and more and more I'm just starting to feel like we're trapped in the upside down. So,
That's fair.
you know, there you go.
Yeah.
That's where we are.
Third place in the division.
That's
You kind of hit that note.
I was gonna say that's a
That was solid.
I have told you guys on several occasions I'm an excellent singer.
Oh, I know.
You don't give me any credit at all.
because
but
we
that's
haven't
all right.
seen it.
I'll give you the credit. That was
Thank
great.
you, Tommy.
I won't.
I want to see
This
more
is-
of it.
Well, this is talking, not singing Cowboys. That's another show I'll start
Listen,
next
it is
season.
talking Cowboys, it is singing Cowboys, it is dancing Cowboys, and whatever we want it to be.
Crumping Cowboys.
I want to. Josh needs to come up with a song.
Welcome, Tommy.
Write as I don't know if you're a songwriter as well.
Yeah, I
but
can
I
do
need
that.
you to write a song over the despair of the Cowboy season, like a
Ooh.
sad Cowboy
My
song.
goodness.
No, it's not going to be sad. It's going to be more like Patrick's shirt. It's going to be like a heavy metal banger.
Yeah.
Bet.
You know what I
Okay,
mean?
He's
I'm
been
down
on
for
metal.
that.
Yeah.
You
He's a metal-
can
he's a
turn
metal.
those into sad songs.
I showed Patrick a really good Cowboy song the other day on TikTok.
Oh yeah,
You remember that one?
I do.
is it the guy, the fan that,
that was
it's a
something.
rap?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's like slowly but surely making an album out of it every week.
That was something.
And he's kind of putting together some bangers, just in terms of like the beat. So I'll leave it up for the fans.
We don't have a
discretion,
music license. I wonder if he would let us play it on the show.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
but- Yeah,
Even if
no,
he
probably
would,
not.
we'd probably get the hook from upstairs.
You
Yeah.
think so? Get called to the
Yeah.
principal's office for that one?
Yeah.
Might as well do it. We're not getting a
We'd
retweet anyways.
absolutely get called into the
All
principal's
right.
office.
Go for it, Patrick. News
All
and
right.
notes.
So first and foremost, yesterday we did speak about the breaking news. Dak Prescott set to get his surgery this morning or at some point today in New York. That'll end his season. And to help as much as he can with the quarterback situation, Will Grier was officially, yesterday afternoon, signed to the Cowboys practice squad. Corresponding move is the release of rookie defensive back Amani Johnson. So Amani Johnson was cut loose to make space for Will Grier. Now, here's something that's key, and this is why I thought the Cowboys, when Dak Prescott was initially headed to IR, I thought last week, that they would add a QB3, but they would do it to the active roster. And that's because the QB3 has to be on the active roster in order to be carried as an emergency quarterback on game days.
Yeah.
By having him on the practice squad, he is then treated as an elevation, and you can't elevate and have that player as an emergency quarterback. So interesting decision for the Cowboys as far as housekeeping is concerned to choose to put Will Grier on the practice squad as opposed to the active roster, especially considering you're about to IR Dak Prescott, so you will have that seat, but that does create the question mark, and I was telling Tommy and Nick Eatman, I think that is kind of dog-eared for Brandon Cooks. I think Brandon Cooks is just about ready to come back. I don't know if that means his 21-day practice window will be open this week, today. I'll check with Mike McCarthy during the press conference to see if that's the case, but he's not the only one who is eligible for their window to be open. DeMarcus Lawrence is also eligible, as is Marshawn Nealon. So you have two definite heavy hitters and a potential impact rookie who qualify to have their practice windows started on today. We'll see if that's the case. Deron Bland, we don't know where he is right now with his. If I'm a betting man, and I'm not Roger, so just relax. If I'm a betting man, I don't see Deron Bland going this week because the tone just doesn't sound well when you have the conversation around the building. But we will see what happens with Juanye Thomas. He missed last week in concussion protocol. But keep an eye on these potential IR activations. Marshawn Nealon, DeMarcus Lawrence, Brandon Cooks. Of those three, sounds like Nealon and Cooks are, I hesitate to say far, but a ways ahead of DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah. I saw Marshawn yesterday in the training table, just walking past, and I was like, "Hey, what's up, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a while." Like we kind of
going to say, "What's up, goat?"
Yeah, what's up, goat? Not yet. Hopefully, that would be awesome.
It would be.
But I was like, "Hey, what's up? Haven't seen you in a little bit," and we kind of talked for a minute. And I was like, "So you feeling good?" He's like, "Bro, I'm close. I'm there. I'm right there." So. We're getting there with Marshawn Nealon. He didn't give me anything breaking news-wise, but he feels good like spirits. He's moving in the right direction and absolutely in good spirits. So good news there. I think Brandon Cooks getting back helps this offense significantly. Then it forces kind of the trade that you made with Jonathan Mingo. It forces him to be a wide receiver 3 as opposed to an automatic wide receiver 2 and need him to get into that role. Whether he's ready for that or not, we haven't seen it yet in a Cowboys offense. Cowboys offense had 46 yards passing this past week, so it's not like I'm expecting Mingo to come in and light it up. Yeah.
Just really quickly, shouts to Patrik for figuring out the Will Grier emergency QB situation. Because I think, like a lot of people, I just assumed that, he'll be the emergency.
Well, and that's something I had tracked. So initially, I thought it might be like a Max Duggan situation as far as because they worked him out. So I was thinking maybe that was going to be the QB3. So in that article I wrote that week as far as the impact of Dak going down, I said my expectation was that they would add him to the active roster, whomever that quarterback might be. Yeah. So when it turns out that they're adding Will Grier to the practice squad, I was like, kind of a raised eyebrow there because now you cannot treat him as an emergency quarterback.
Yeah.
Right. So to be clear, if you elevate him, then, you have to then make the decision because there's no point in elevating then making inactive. Not that that's impossible. Isn't that right, Takaris McKinley? But if you elevate him and put him on the active game day roster, then you more or less have to figure out how to play him. Otherwise, you just wasted the game day roster spot because there's not that emergency exemption. So.
Well, you could put him on the active roster and just make him inactive on game day.
No,
he doesn't have to be a part of the 48.
If you elevate him and make him active for the game day roster, and you don't play him, then you wasted a game day spot.
Absolutely.
So that's what I mean.
That's
because
the only way you can do that.
Because you don't get the emergency QB exemption.
Because he has to be active.
Exactly. Because keep in mind, Trey Lance was consistently inactive, but he was available to play in the event of an emergency injury to Dak.
Because he's inactive, third
but
emergency.
now with Will, if you elevate him and then put him on the game day roster, he's taking up a spot.
Yeah. And you can't elevate him and keep him inactive.
Correct.
He has to be active.
That is correct. Yep. That's the distinction. So interesting that they chose this route, but
I wonder if
stranger things have happened.
Hey, banger. I wonder if there's more moving and shaking that's going to happen that allows him to be on that 53-man roster within now and Sunday or Monday. But because, I mean, you talked about Dak in that move. If Brandon Cooks isn't ready and they aren't going to move him to the active roster, it might be dog-eared for Brandon Cooks, but they could move Will Grier into that spot.
That's true.
If he's not ready. I mean, do you expect Brandon Cooks to play this week?
Brandon Cooks sounded like he was ready to play last week. Now, of course, this is the player talking.
Yeah, and he hasn't started a practice
This
window.
isn't the medical team talking. This is the player talking. But as far as the player goes, and speaking with Brandon Cooks, he was of the belief and was operating of the belief that he was on the right track for Monday Night Football. He quite literally said or intimated that when we were talking to him at his locker last week and the week prior, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I'm trying to see y'all on Monday Night Football." So, but then you have the conversations around the building, and it's kind of tempered a bit. So all I can say is we'll see if they activate his practice window today on Wednesday. But as far as player goes, he sounds like he's ready to unleash.
Nice.
And I assume you'd want to not rush him back, but it's like if he's ready, you play him.
Use him.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
And if there's any player that you would be comfortable with saying, you know what, let's get him practicing on Wednesday, playing him on Sunday or Monday, it would be a Brandon Cooks who's been in this league, who is one of the best players around as far as taking care of his body, knowing his body, being in tune with his body. So if there was anyone you'd be comfortable with that, I'd say it'd be Brandon.
Also, not to mention what he suffered wasn't an actual injury.
Correct. It was an infection
that has healed.
It has long healed.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of it has to do with maybe the infection around the rehab that he needed from the knee and from the scope that he had. But usually there's not a ton of rehab there, period.
Right, and that's an excellent point, Cal.
It's not like it's a lingering injury.
Yeah, once an infection is gone,
it's gone.
You should be good.
Yeah,
so
we'll see.
see.
Yeah, we will. Tommy, out of those guys, DeMarcus Lawrence, DeRon Bland, Brandon Cooks, Marshawn Nealon, who do the Cowboys need back the most?
Specifically for Monday, or
for Monday.
For Monday, DeRon Bland, 100%. I mean, you look at last week and how, even in weeks past too, at how teams just kind of have picked on Kalen Carson, and it's just marched downfield for offense. Like we were talking about A.J. Brown yesterday. He had 3 out of his receptions were on Carson for 74 yards. And it could have been worse. I mean, I still think back to that wheel route to Devontae Smith, where if Jalen Hurts puts it a little bit better, that's a touchdown. Yeah. And, you know, it's rough for a rookie like that who has his confidence kind of taken away, I think. But Kalen Carson's still a really good player, but DeRon Bland's a really good player too.
Oh yeah,
and he's
an all-pro.
Exactly, and you need that back, especially when you look at this Texans offense. I know we'll talk about them a little bit more in a bit, but they've got speed at their skill positions. They've got a great trio of wide receivers. Even with Stephon Diggs out, it looks like Nico Collins is on track to be back for Monday Night Football. So all the help that you can get in the secondary, I think, is going to be what you want in this game.
Oh man, you just made. I was just about to talk about Diggs is not going to be in the fold, and that makes me sad that we don't get Trayvon versus Stephon. I was kind of hoping for that finally.
Diggs Bowl will not happen.
The football gods not playing nice with that matchup.
No, not that one specifically. But then you turn around and you've got Nico Collins you got to deal with as well. That one's going to be tough.
Yes.
Any other news and notes before we take our first break?
No, we're good on that. Yesterday was a non-practice day, so we should have a lot more information and will tomorrow morning news and notes.
Demo, feel pretty good about it? I know he said he was good.
He's good, and there's no concern as far as any major injury.
He had scanning on Monday.
Yeah, what I'm told is it's bursitis that he's dealing with.
Okay.
So it could just be a rest and rehab situation this week. Maybe he's DNP, did not participate on Wednesday, maybe Thursday, kind of work him back in to walkthroughs on Friday and Saturday. Maybe that's the plan. I wouldn't be too concerned by seeing him DNP, but as we'll talk about it today with the Cowboys defense and the Houston Texans offense, that's a concern for me simply because he's not 100%.
Yeah.
So, but we'll get to that. But as it stands, as far as news and notes are concerned, he's 70% chance he should go against Houston Texans. Pretty strong chance.
That is a good spot, good percentage. Yeah. All right, when we come back, we're going to take our attention and look at some of the matchups for this Houston Texans team. Tommy alluded to it. Speed on the outside. Which level of the Cowboys defense is going to be challenged the most? When we come back, more Talking Cowboys right after this. If you're looking for fresh American roasted coffee that gives back, you need to head to your local grocery store and pick up a bag of Black Rifle coffee. That's right, America's coffee is now available in the coffee aisle of a grocery store near you. Black Rifle Coffee Company is veteran-founded with a mission to give back to those brave men and women who have served our nation. Every bag, box, or can you purchase helps support that mission.
Head to your local grocery store and roast yourself some Black Rifle coffee today.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code Cowboys VIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code Cowboys VIP.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, presented by Quaker Oats, the official oatmeal sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Quaker Oats, trusted since 1877. I threw you guys for a loop.
You
thought I was going to say
what
Black
direction
Rifle.
Is it going to be Invisalign? I was getting ready for it.
threw you a nice little curveball here. We've got a lab coat coming up in the next segment, so don't go anywhere. Patrick's going to let the Cowboys have it. I don't know exactly what you're going to talk about. We'll tease it at the end of this segment, but
Okay.
I figure you're probably going to let the Cowboys have it.
Probably so.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
All right. Stick around and find out.
It is the 7th all-time meeting between the Cowboys and the Texans. The Cowboys have won 4, the Texans have won 2, and the Cowboys have won 4 of the last 5, including back in 2022. That was a weird game and a Texans team that was just kind of starting to turn things around. Had some guys on defense that they were confident in, Jalen Petrie being one of them, the former Baylor prospect, playing safety, still playing at a high level as well. You don't really have the same offensive output in those games as you do now. They've got weapons on offense, and it starts with CJ Stroud as well. Josh, when you look at the 3 levels of this Texans team, the pass catchers, the running game, and the offensive line in the trenches. So passing game, running game, trenches. Which one do you feel like they're at their highest with?
Ooh, I think they're highest with the passing. I think CJ Stroud, once he's afforded time, is going to be able to pick you apart. I think, we've talked about it before. Anytime the Cowboys are going up against a team and their weaknesses, they find a way to strengthen those weaknesses against the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Cowboys defense. So I'm a little worried about that. I'm worried about their receiving core. Granted, you have Nico Collins coming back, who is currently still ranked the number 1 overall wide receiver according to Pro Football Focus, who has missed 4 games with a hamstring. Those darn hamstrings. But Tank Dell, who is on the outside, is having a nice season. He's contributing on the outside, even with injuries to, of course, Nico Collins and now Stephon Diggs. To me, the receiving core and passing, like that's going to be really tough. But I think you have opportunities in the trenches.
Yeah, Nico Collins, 32 receptions, which is 3rd on the team, but he leads the team in receiving yards.
Right.
I mean, 17.7 yards per catch.
And has missed 4 games.
And has missed 4 games in doing so. 3 touchdowns, including a 67-yarder earlier in the campaign.
No,
He's
sir.
their
I
big
don't like
play
it.
threat. Yeah.
I don't like what you said.
No, sir. I don't
He's
like
their
it.
big play threat. And if you're going to see Nico Collins on one side, you're going to see Tank Dell on the opposite side.
Who's having a nice season.
Who's having a great season. 35
so
grabs,
back.
400 yards.
He's so back.
Yeah, he's legit. The only, I guess, good side of it, and it's unfortunate like we talked about earlier, but the only good thing that the Cowboys don't have to deal with is Stephon Diggs. It's the fact that he's not in the fold and they don't have that 3-headed monster at the wide receiver spot.
But they've got a guy named John Mechie who just caught his first touchdown pass,
his
first career touchdown pass.
Former
last year.
Alabama.
Former Alabama guy, and unfortunately had to deal with, I think it was cancer. His rookie season that kept him out, but now he's here and he's a viable threat.
Is he balling?
I mean, he had a great game on Sunday night against the Detroit Lions, and you add in Dalton Schultz, a guy that Cowboys fans are very familiar with.
Who's that?
I'm just saying he's there, but
I wouldn't know his name.
I didn't know
if
we
he
were
didn't
talking
play
about
here.
Jags.
to kind of build off of what Josh was saying,
Jake Jr.
You've got an opportunity here. The Cowboys do defensively at the line of scrimmage. This Texans offensive line has not played well at all this year. CJ Stroud is one of the most pressured quarterbacks in the NFL. But the flip side of that is CJ Stroud is one of the most successful quarterbacks when throwing under pressure this year. So you've got to find a balance on that. I think that you've seen some positives come along these past couple of weeks in the pass rush for the Dallas Cowboys, and Micah Parsons being back in the mix is certainly going to help that. So it all goes back to what we talked about yesterday. Football's a line of scrimmage game, and if the Cowboys can get a good pass rush, get CJ Stroud to the ground, they can take an advantage here.
12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So, I mean, a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. It's not like he's lighting it up in terms of taking care of the football.
Not too shabby.
And no, it's not bad. It's not like tops of the league or anything.
Yeah, no.
Speaking of most pressured, though, he's been sacked 34 times. Do you know the only other quarterback that has been sacked more than C.J. Stroud?
Caleb Williams.
38 times.
Why'd you do that to Tommy?
I just wanted
We're going to blow past that because that was a knife turn.
Get the kid some help, man.
I was going to try. I was going to try and say. I thought you were alluding to Dak. I thought. Dak
no.
What is he at? Probably 20 something, right?
He's up there. He's up there. We'll check.
Well, he almost took a sack last week on the sideline.
Yes, that count?
We talked about it yesterday. One pressure, no snaps.
I went back and looked at that, and it was pretty egregious. I'm shocked I
it has
missed
potential to be pretty scary.
For me, I'm going with the ground game. I think that the ground game is what's going to decide this game for the Houston Texans or the Dallas Cowboys. I mean,
mixing it up.
Right. Nice.
Thanks.
Joe Mixon is in fact quite resurgent in a Texans uniform. He was always very solid, a very good player for the Cincinnati Bengals, but seems like he's refound that top gear with the Houston Texans. But it's not just him. It's just the totality of it. So when you talk about the Cowboys consistently struggling against the run, here are the top 5 rushing game outings for the Houston Texans: 213 yards, 101, 192, 142, 187. And now you're thinking, well, okay. What do the others look like? Well, 96, 94. The point being, they get after you on the ground. And Joe Mixon is the straw that stirs that drink. But talk about CJ Stroud. Yes, the Lions got after him. They sacked him 4 times to kind of secure that comeback victory. But he has 10 first downs on the ground. And as Tommy said, he excels at throwing the ball under pressure. He's going to be a problem for you. So if you can't bottle up Joe Mixon in that rushing attack, and if you can't keep contain on CJ Stroud to allow the pressure that you're inevitably going to get against him because the offensive line is struggling, then you're just in for a very long day. So for me, it goes in that order. Stop the run game, force CJ Stroud to then throw, but then keep him in the pocket while he's throwing so your pressure can get home. Otherwise, you're just in for it.
Or spy him, dude.
But see, okay, and I love high five for that. Here's my problem with that this week. My problem with that.
Here's my problem. High five.
No, I high five because I love the idea. I love it. Everybody who follows this show knows I am a huge advocate of DeMarvion Overshown spying mobile quarterbacks. It is no secret. But we just talked about he's dealing with bursitis in his knee. We are dealing with a less than 100% DeMarvion Overshown, and we don't know how much that's going to affect him, because we don't know if this is an 80% demo, is this a 70% demo, we don't know. But being that he is outside of Micah, he's the most explosive player on defense outside of Micah. So some of his explosiveness might be siphoned away from him because of that bursitis in his knee. And that's advantage CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans offense. So that's my concern there, because they're going to put a lot of pressure on the defensive front, which includes the linebacker core. Demo has shown he can go into demon mode like he did last week against the Eagles. But if he's not completely healthy, what does that look like? And that's why it's a concern for me there.
I think at least you're doing something about his mobility, the dual threat that he has. I think as long as you have a player there, it doesn't just leave him open.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Question being, I haven't seen it yet, but I will say I'm willing to start wondering, at least for this week, if Demo is less than 100%, which clearly he is. Because Marist is fast as hell as well.
Yeah.
Maybe you spy with Marist this particular week. But I'm with you. Just put a spy on him of some sort. But maybe it's Leofau instead
because you
Demo.
didn't against Lamar Jackson and you saw what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see, but CJ Stroud and Lamar Jackson are not cut from the same cloth.
I was about to say
that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, and CJ Stroud is running the ball decently. Like, let's not get it twisted. I mean, he has 148 yards. He's second on the team in rushing. But 148 yards over the course of 10 games or however many they've played. Is it 9 games? Nine games.
He's not rattling up a lot of yardage.
It's not like he's racking it up.
It's the escapability. It's the extra
He will
yardage,
move
right?
the chains. And I will say this. Second half, because DeMarvion Overshown got injured at some point in the first half. And he was on demon time, right? Kind of went quiet in the second half before they ultimately said, you know what, let's shut this down to not make this worse, okay?
You're talking about Demo?
Demo. So he said he suffered the injury in the first half against the Eagles, right?
Yeah, and then he sat down,
right.
That was the
and then what happened
timeout.
in the second half with Jalen Hurts? There was
started running,
right? Because no spy was there. Right?
I think
so he
Hurts
started
is more
tearing off
dangerous
chunks.
than Stroud is.
100%.
Like, Hurts is a more dangerous runner than Stroud is. I don't know if our defense, the Dallas defense, is strong enough on the back end to take a defender and say, we're going to try and limit CJ Stroud's mobility moving forward. I would rather have that guy available to do a ton of different things. Because I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, CJ Stroud's going to run for 150 on us when he hasn't run for 150 all year long.
Not exactly.
Now you just jinxed it. Thanks, Kyle.
Sure. If he starts running like that crazy in the first quarter,
you adjust.
Adjust it. Yeah. Make an adjustment
adjustment.
I know it's a novel concept. Make an adjustment when need be. If he does it early, but I don't know if I'm going into this game saying, oh my gosh, circle the elusiveness and running ability of CJ Stroud. He does good things there, but it's not a game changer.
Account for it.
Yeah, but accounting for it is different than game planning for it.
Fair enough.
And game planning for it means put a spy there and let's keep a defender severely assigned on CJ Stroud. I don't know if they need it necessarily.
No, I'm with you, Kyle. I think that it's more important to get that extra defender on the back end since they throw the ball so well.
I'm with you, Josh.
This is a game.
But I hope they're right.
Versus them.
I hope they're right.
Us versus them.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. CJ Stroud's legs are something that can.
I don't even know what that was.
It was K-Dot. They're not like us.
Oh,
they're not like us.
Not like us.
Well, CJ Stroud's legs are something that can get the Texans first downs.
Sure.
But I think that the amount of space that's going to have to be there for Stroud to pick you up a first down is going to have to be, I think, enough to where if he gets it, you just throw your hands and say, good play. Good play. And you just take it. If CJ Stroud beats you with his legs in this game, that's one where you just throw your hands up and say, we respect that. I don't see it as big of a threat as some of the other quarterbacks they've played this year. Like even Brock Purdy, I think was more of a you just throw your hands up and say, you got it. So, in this game specifically, and the reason I say that extra defender is going to be so crucial, when you think about the middle of the field, if you get Nico Collins back, that's his bread and butter. That's where he's been his best in those in-breaking routes. And the Cowboys have struggled in the middle of the field to defend those crossing patterns and things like that all season long. So if Nico Collins gets into that area of the field, you need to have a guy on him. Because if you're spying Amaris Leofau or DeMarvion Overshown and he's looking at the quarterback, well, then Nico Collins is going to slide right behind him and find that open gap in the middle of the field.
And they love those crossers over the middle, too.
Exactly. He'll take it an extra 15, 20 yards down the field, and now you're really in trouble. So if you put on the table for me, okay, C.J. Stroud picks up 7 yards on 1st and 10 because the middle of the field was open and they're covering Nico Collins, I'll take that over a 20-yard catch and run for Collins that sets him up in Cowboys territory. So I don't disagree with you guys in the sense that C.J. Stroud's legs are respectable enough to where you would want to consider putting a spy on him. I just don't think it is that viable of a threat to where you take a guy like Leofau or take a guy like Overshown out of the equation in coverage.
I'm looking at the QB rushing leaders over the course of the 2024 season. I'm a little shocked at how far down he is.
How far down is he, Kyle?
He is 18th out of the quarterbacks in 2024 in rushing yards.
Just below the middle of the pack.
Yeah. Here's some names that are in front of him. Okay. Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Brock Purdy, Justin Fields, Drake May, Caleb Williams, Anthony Richardson, Josh Allen, Daniel Jones, Bo Nix.
Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams doesn't have a choice.
but that's the point. I agree with you in the fact that there is an element there that the Cowboys have struggled with, and that's mobile quarterbacks, period. They have not been good against them outside of what they did really against Justin Fields. And I don't think that was really their fault. I think it was Justin Fields not running the ball against the Cowboys.
Mobile quarterbacks in that, like, they're willing to escape the pocket and not just a Lamar Jackson type.
Correct.
Like guys that are just willing to get out of the pocket.
Yeah, like a glorified running back. Yeah,
we're having troubles that players in the pocket. We're having trouble with players outside. I mean,
true,
across the board.
It's true, Josh.
We're having player issues across
it's
the
damn
board.
true.
Yeah.
It's true, Josh. All right, so running game, check. We've talked about the passing game and their attack there. Offensive line-wise, you mentioned that there's a spot there for pressure. Does that mean that they're playing poorly up front, or is that just a plain and simple CJ Stroud's maybe taking too much time in the backfield?
No, they're playing poorly up front. Yeah. Early in the season, Kenyon Green at left guard was just getting mauled.
He's a name Cowboys fans might remember from the draft show. He was big on the draft show. Cowboys fans wanted him. Yeah. He's been meh.
Yeah, he was getting
solid
mauled. And I believe he's injured, so I don't think
he's on IR now.
Okay, yeah, so he's not playing in this game. But
even when he was,
he
was
benched earlier in the season.
Was he really?
He got pushed back, it seems like, on every rep. And, I think that when we talk about the run game, too, you look at this as an opportunity as well for the Cowboys, especially on the interior of the defensive line, to have an opportunity to limit Joe Mixon. Look at what Detroit did to him last week. Or on Sunday, 25 carries for 46 yards, 1.8 yards a carry. And when you look at what the Cowboys have done the last 2 weeks, they've held Bijan Robinson and Saquon Barkley to a combined 152 rushing yards. You take that any day of the week. Any day of the week, considering what those two guys can do. So if they can put up something similar against Joe Mixon, you take that and you've got to find a way to stop CJ Stroud in this offense in the back end.
And my concern there is, and you're right, 100%. You also have to make sure that you're accounting and for the fact that, look at Atlanta, right? Bijan, you bottled him up on the ground, but they used him as a receiver out of the backfield.
That's a good point.
Saquon, you bottled him up on the ground, but in critical situations, receiver out of the backfield. So just keep an eye. Everything Tommy said is 100% correct. But in addition to what Tommy is saying, you cannot dismiss what Joe Mixon can be as a receiver out of the backfield.
Absolutely.
No doubt. And I think part of it is the front seven and the defensive line doing their job at a better rate on the ground. I get that these receivers are elusive. That's the modern day NFL and the way these running backs are utilized as a receiver as well. But if you can hold those guys accountable in between the tackles or right there at the line of scrimmage, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with the occasional leak out and the way that they kind of use those guys in the flats. I've liked what I've seen the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I want to see it again against Joe Mixon. And Joe Mixon doesn't scare me nearly as much as Bijan Robinson and Saquon Barkley do.
No disrespect, but
no disrespect. Joe Mixon is a very capable running back.
Well, he's consistent. He's very consistent, capable. And he's had the best yards per carry this season since 2018. He's at 4.3, which is respectable, I think.
Absolutely.
Especially when you have an offensive line with as many issues as you see now. I also think that the tackles on the outside, they're having a solid year. They have solid grades and everything, but you're seeing some mental lapses with the offensive line, and that could be attributed to scheme as well.
Well, one thing it's attributed to is that the offensive line of the Houston Texans, they can be had on the interior.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Be had.
Interior,
so that's applying that much more pressure to the tackles because now they can't simply operate as edge guys. They're sitting there wondering what the guy to my, if you're the left tackle, what's happening to my right? If you're the right tackle, what's happening to my left? 17 sacks allowed between Kenyon Green and Shaq Mason at this point in the season. So if you're talking about getting some interior pressure, this is a game where maybe we talk about Mozzie Smith needing to take that next step. This could be a game where Mozzie Smith really definitely does some.
He needs to take
another Mozzie game. Let's go.
Now, in addition
repeat that
to
New
that,
York Giants performance, baby.
Dude, he's been bad since then too.
On a bigger note,
give me that Mozzie Smith.
On a bigger note, I'm going to draw a nice gold circle around Osa Odigizua.
Yes.
I think this is a game where Osa can absolutely eat against the Houston Texans from that 3-tech spot.
I would love that.
Yeah, so attack those guards, those offensive guards for the Houston Texans, and the rest of the line just falls apart at that point.
I kind of would welcome the prospect of trying to stunt Micah Parsons to the interior of that offensive line.
Yeah.
Because I would much rather.
Oh, now you're talking some Dan Quinn stuff.
I would much rather.
Just
that is quite literally Dan Quinn stuff.
I would much
Haven't
rather
seen it since.
line him up
Zero-tech.
against that and have him rush against that
than
Laramie Tunsil. Yeah, because the Texans' offensive line has been great, but you've still got Laramie Tunsil.
Tunsil's still playing well.
Yeah,
So either that or keep him on the right side and
let him eat there.
Carl Lawson against Laramie Tunsil.
I'm down.
Right.
And Carl Lawson's played well.
He has.
He's played really well.
He has.
And I feel like
2.5 sacks over these past 2 games.
We haven't talked about that.
Come a
enough,
long way
but-
since the practice squad.
Yeah. Him being a third rotation of edge rusher is absolutely in his future here.
Yeah.
I think that would be fantastic. He would be a great third edge rusher. The unfortunate side of things is that he's the second edge rusher on the roster, not even in the third string.
Right.
He's the second on the roster
Well,
right
similar
now.
to what last year, what was his name? Fowler.
Oh, Dante Fowler Jr.
Similar to what
he's
Dante
Mike
Fowler.
Zimmer's Dante Fowler.
It's what he brought you last year. I think that's what you can expect when you have a healthy defensive line.
Yeah. Hopefully some of those guys back, like we talked about in the opening segment with D-Law, Marshawn Nealon getting close. All right, when we come back, we've got some lab coat. Pat, what we got on the docket today?
We're going to talk about the Cowboys' defense and what they're allowing per game versus the Cowboys' offense, what they're allowing per game. And the question is it all the defense's fault that they're allowing so many points per game? And is it all to the credit of the Cowboys as far as the points that are being scored? No, it's not. We're going to talk about just how much this team needs to turn around, and that's what's scary going into this game. So,
Lab coat coming up right after this.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag & Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag & Turf, the official Ag & Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. With football season kicking off, I'm already gearing up to bring the smoker back to AT&T Stadium for some epic tailgates. But with that Texas heat, it's crucial to keep my beer hand cramping cold. That's where Yeti's insulated Colster can cooler comes in clutch. This year, you can even get them with the iconic star engraved on the side. Licensed Yeti Cowboys gear is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com. Check it out today. Yeti, official cooler and drinkware of the Dallas Cowboys.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions?
For questions about their money, Dallas Cowboys fans can turn to Erica, the virtual financial assistant in the Bank of America mobile banking app. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/Erica by your side. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Erica responses may vary. Digital tools featured require downloading the mobile banking app and may only be available on select mobile devices. Erica is a mobile feature only available in the English language. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply. Bank of America, N.A., member FDIC.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, this segment is brought to you by Invisalign, the official smile of the Dallas Cowboys.
Please do.
Invisalign. Go get your Invisalign.
Chris hates us so much.
Yeah, he does.
Please do.
Chris Beam in the back doing great work as always. One-liner Beam. We've got Tommy Yarrish filling in for Isaiah Stanback, who will be back tomorrow. We've got him on Good Morning Football representing for Cowboys Nation today. Josh Rodriguez. I'm Kyle Youmans. And now it's time for Patrik No C. Walker and a little bit of lab coat.
All right, so let's talk about this. Dallas Cowboys, look me in my eyes when I tell you this. This is horrid football that is being played in 2024. This is so far below expectation that the expectation is back on the horizon. We're 50 miles past the expectation in the wrong direction. GPS has led you way wrong. Recalculate, please.
Yes, science.
God, the Cowboys defense right now, they're allowing just under 29 points per game, which is second to worst in the entire league.
Ooh, can I guess who's last?
Go for it.
Carolina.
That is correct.
Oh, okay.
All right. So
good company. Right?
But this is what I will say to them.
Team that's had the number 1 overall draft.
This is what I will say to
the last 4 years.
The defense. Shout out to the defense. Improvement is being shown. And we're seeing progress. We saw the first half against the Philadelphia Eagles. That was a different defense than what we've seen over the previous 8 games, period. Unfortunately, and we talked about it earlier in the week, things got out of hand again in the third quarter, but that's also attributable to the fact that time of possession started to get into the Eagles' favor. Defense started to get gassed for the Cowboys. Now that leads me to the offense. You've got to help your defense out. You needed them to take the ball away. You needed them to get 3 and outs. They got it. What did you do? You gave the ball away. You then had 3 and outs. And those things were happening when Dak Prescott was on the field. You struggled to get into the end zone from the red zone. You could move the ball. Now, without Dak Prescott, you're struggling to even move the ball, right? You're averaging 19.5-ish points per game right now. 19.5-ish points per game.
Where does that rank, Pat?
That's 23rd worst in the league. So you're almost bottom of the barrel. But
kind of shocked it's not lower.
You know, it is lower. And here's why. In actuality, it's lower. Don't let that number confuse you. Brandon Aubrey is averaging more than a touchdown a game.
Oh.
Okay,
so it's more like 12
right. It's more
points.
like 12 points per game. The Cowboys' offense is averaging less than 13 points per game through its first 9 games. Pick an adjective: horrid, abysmal, horrendous. Just go down the line.
NGB,
not great, Bob. Right? I said earlier this week that I said earlier this week that you lost to the Eagles. It's a lost season. Now it's evaluation time. Okay, I want the unleashing of Trey Lance, and now that Will Grier is back in the building, baby, let's do a little bit of Trey Lance and Will Grier. You have 2 mobile quarterbacks that you can put behind an offensive line that's struggling to protect, right? Cooper Rush, he's dealing with possibly a neck strain, and that was before he fumbled that snap, and he wasn't off to a great start. Now, if he has the neck strain, that's another added variable behind an offensive line struggling to protect. Get some mobile guys out there. Evaluate Trey Lance. See if Will Grier can possibly even challenge Trey Lance for the right to be QB2 next year. You have all of these reasons to evaluate. Whatever you need to do on offense, you need to do it. Empty the playbook. Okay, any sections of the playbook that you had entered this season saying, okay, I'm going to save this quarter of the playbook for November, this quarter of the playbook for December, that was all with the expectation that you would be far above 500. You're not. Dump it.
Far above 13 points a game.
You're right. Dump it. Far above 13 points per game. I cannot stress this enough. Brandon, you're only scoring on average twice as much as your kicker.
Yeah.
That's not going to cut it.
I've got some more synonyms if we want to rattle those off.
Let's go.
Abominable, frightful, atrocious, disgraceful, deplorable, hopeless, worthless, laughable, lamentable, miserable.
Lamentable is a good one.
That's a good one.
Thesaurus Cowboys.
Yeah. Talking thesaurus.
Inept.
So I would say
inexpert.
I say all of that to say this. When you look at the Cowboys' defense and what they're allowing per game for the majority of the season, you could absolutely, put accountability on them as far as being a key reason the Cowboys were spiraling. They've seemingly now got it together. Talk about improving in the run defense. Talk about the pass rush that improved now that you put Demo and Micah Parsons is back. Great. But there are no signs of life on the offense. Unleash Trey Lance for evaluation purposes. Let's have some fun. Unleash Will Grier alongside Trey Lance. Let's have some fun.
Oh.
Right? We're not saying this is going to put you in the playoffs. But let's evaluate. Let's have some fun. Let's at least go out guns blazing. Empty the playbook. That's what I'm saying.
To add to the lab here and give you another sample size, I guess. I'm not a science guy.
Lab assistant right here,
baby. We're not cooking.
He walks in with his
Bunsen burner.
I see that beaker, my friend. He's got a nice beaker. Where's the thermostat though?
So listen, I will tell you why the second half didn't go the defense's way after they looked so good in the first half. It goes back to what we were talking about on Monday. We're going to go back to this stretch of this Cowboys offensive drives. Ready? 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, fumble, interception. These guys don't have time to breathe on the sideline. So you're being asked to just go back out there and play with your hair on fire again and again and again.
This doesn't sound better the second time around, Tom.
No, it doesn't.
I thought it would maybe feel a little bit better.
No,
it doesn't.
It shouldn't either. So you can't. I'm just saying you can't expect a defense to play at the same level that the Cowboys did in the first half throughout the course of an entire game. When I think the longest period of rest they had in that stretch, and even towards the end of the game, was 3 minutes and 4 seconds of game time, and that was the last drive of the game that the Cowboys offense had the ball.
Not great, Bob.
No, so you were averaging kind of around 2 minutes of game time to where this defense was catching their breath on the sidelines and trying to regroup. When you're playing Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and that Eagles offensive line, it's not going to cut it.
And, not only were they tired, they were exhausted, weary, drained, fatigued, knackered, bleary, burnt out, pooped, weakened, prostrate. They were all of those things.
I like poop.
What's the official thesaurus of the Dallas Cowboys? We're making their money.
It's us.
It's us. Yeah,
we are the official
thesaurus
of the Cowboys. Yeah, not ideal.
I like knackered.
Not
knackered
ideal.
Was a good one.
Oh man,
I can't say that.
Knackered?
Oh.
Hey, what did you think I said?
I don't know.
I'm gonna keep rolling.
It's a good time to move on here.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
When you're looking at the Cowboys offense there, you're taking a look at those numbers, and that's the pressure that's put on the defense. I know there are fans out there that think the defense need to take it to another level and continue the consistency. Like Tommy just said, it's almost impossible to do so.
Correct.
But which one's more likely? That element of, hey, the defense just has to play lights out for 4 quarters, or that the offense has some level of life? Because I think both right now are a little unlikely.
The only way the offense has some level of life is if you empty the playbook and you unleash Trey Lance and maybe sprinkle in some Will Grier, 2 mobile quarterbacks. And I know Will can get the ball downfield.
Are you completely done with Cooper Rush?
Yes, and I don't
say it with your chest.
Yeah.
I am done with Cooper Rush, but I want to qualify this the right way, because people will hear me say that and say, "Oh, well, why is he, crapping over Cooper?" Listen, I am the same guy who dedicated an entire science lab as a thank you letter to Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. He is your cool hand Luke. He has all the veteran ability, and I'm going to go as far as saying, and the numbers prove this, the film proved this, that was an aberration against the Eagles.
Yeah.
The problem is that aberration is going to continue because this is not the same situation he stepped into in 2022. I said that before this game, right? This is not the same offensive line that was protecting, right? This is not the same group of wide receivers that can separate and do what they needed to do. And this is not the same defense as a couple seasons ago who were constantly taking the ball away. And now it's even more concerning because your first start in 2024, they actually took the ball away. They weren't doing that for Dak Prescott.
No.
They took the ball away for you. They got 3 and outs for you, and you still couldn't get it done. So I still believe Cooper Rush is a very high-caliber backup quarterback. But this situation, these variables contextually do not work in his favor. But they might be able to work in the favor of a guy like a Trey Lance who can get out on designed runs and read options and maybe just use his legs when he's under pressure. Will Grier can get out and use his legs when he's under pressure. And Will Grier is better of a downfield thrower than Trey Lance is right now. So my point being, when you ask me if I'm done with Cooper Rush, I'm done with him in this setup because this setup is going to get him killed.
Yeah.
I want to see Trey Lance too, but I'm not done with Cooper Rush in this setup. Either. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think you made a good point where this one game I think is kind of like I don't know how to pronounce that, but thesaurus. Yeah, you got. I'm throwing my hands up. You got me on that one. But
yes, science. Sound it out.
It doesn't spell like it sounds.
No, I'm sure it doesn't.
It doesn't.
No. This can't be a spelling bee either because it's going to be even worse. But I'm willing to give him time because he has won you games. Granted, you're right. This is a completely different situation. But there were some similarities in the sense that the defense took the ball away. And the defense took the ball away, gave them opportunities. They just didn't convert on those opportunities this time around.
Because the offensive line
isn't there.
Feels like he's seen some ghosts a little bit.
Well, when he has less than 2 seconds to throw, then
Exactly.
But I think that you still trust what he can do for you, and I still think that you need to give it time. You need to give it time, and I know time is not necessarily of the essence.
Yeah,
but let's see how this week goes. Is my thing. Let's see how this week goes, and kind of go from there. But I'm with you in the sense that letting Trey Lance go is not necessarily a bad thing for this offense. But I think that there is a good point to be made that Cooper Rush gives you the best chance to win.
Well, and I also think he's earned that right too.
Absolutely,
he's earned that respect to say, hey, let's give it some time. I mean, earn the time to be the starter and to go from one aberration to another. I don't think it's likely we see under 150 passing yards again from Cooper Rush. I don't think that happens. Do I agree with you that it's evaluation time and that this is a chance for you to see what the future of your football team looks like? Sure, absolutely. But you talked about like time of the essence. We got 8 weeks left. There are 8 weeks where you can try things like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe you do it after another 2 or 3 weeks that don't go right and look similar or at least close to what happened against Philadelphia. That's where I'm at before you make a permanent switch. I don't think it's out of the question, and I think actually by the end of the year we will see either Trey Lance or Will Grier with significant snaps in the offense. I just don't think it happens this week against the only on national television right there.
I was going to say and it's funny that you say that as you're out there because the only way that I can be on board with Coop starting. And again, this is not a knock to Coop. The situation just does not suit him, is what I'm saying.
It's not really his fault.
The only way I can be okay with it is if you're basically giving him a chance so that the last game is not how he goes out.
Yeah.
Right? Don't let him, because he's earned the right to not go out on a 46-yard game. Yeah. So if you're thinking of it in that capacity, okay, maybe I can acquiesce to that. But outside of that one singular point, the outfit that it looks that he's stepping into right now, this is not conducive to what he can do.
Let me ask you this: is this situation good for any quarterback?
The players around
it?
No. Absolutely not.
No.
So in terms of that, and I'm not disagreeing with you again, but I mean, Trey Lance, you're going to be dealing with the same thing. Sure, his legs give him an opportunity to change something, but
that's it. That's a big deal.
You can't. There's only so much you can do with your legs. If the pocket collapses on you in 2 seconds, you can't go anywhere. Then it's not going to matter.
Either way, the offense isn't fixed.
But
no matter
it's not
exactly.
It's not collapsing every time in 2 seconds.
No, it's not.
So in those instances where it's not, those legs will come into play.
Yeah.
And you'll get more design run. You're not running a read option with Cooper Rush. No linebackers buying that.
So what you're saying,
they're taking the running back every single time.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that no matter how hard we try and climb out of this thing, we're still stuck in the upside down.
We are still trapped in the upside down.
We are still stuck.
Eddie did not die for this. Eddie did not die for this.
That's going to do it for us here on Talking Cowboys. Hope you had some fun. Can you keep going? I want to like lead it out.
That should be the outro music.
For Patrik "No-C" Walker, for Josh Rodriguez, Tommy Yarrish, Chris Beam in the backup, Kyle Youmans. We'll see Isaiah Standback tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow with Talking Cowboys. See you then.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!